Ladies and gentlemen, our official party and honored guests today include Representative Tim Rudd, Lieutenant General Retired Keith Huber, Major General Retired Max Haston, Major General Retired Jim Miles, Brigadier General Retired Les Fuller, Brigadier General Retired David Ogg, Brigadier General Retired Pat O'Neill, Colonel Retired Charles Pigg, Colonel Retired Jay Harmon, Colonel Retired Ricky Smith, Lieutenant Colonel Retired Mary Kelm, Lieutenant Colonel Arlen Wilshire, and Master Sergeant James Banowski. Please rise for the playing of the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please be seated. Good morning, distinguished guests, family, friends, and alumni of the Blue Raider Battalion. Welcome to the 75th anniversary ceremony for the MTSU Army Reserve Officer Training Corps program. Thank you for taking the time to be here with us today as we celebrate the Blue Raider Battalion, look back at our history, and rejoice in the promise of our shared future. At this time, I would like to introduce Dr. Mark Burns, the Provost of Middle Tennessee State University.
Well, thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming out and joining us today. On behalf of President Sidney A. McPhee and really everybody here at MTSU, I wanted to welcome you to our beautiful campus here this morning. You'll hear off to this side the sounds of progress as we renovate KOM. It's going to be amazing when it opens next August. So we're excited about that. And we're really excited to be here today to help honor the 75th anniversary of our Army Reserve Officers Training Corps program. And particularly relevant and appropriate that we gather here today at our Veterans Memorial, which since 2009 has provided a space to honor all of our university community who have served in uniform, as well as pay tribute to those from MTSU who have paid the ultimate sacrifice for our nation. Longevity and success of our OTC program is a proud testament to the Army, the support by a succession of university administrations, and of course the caliber of our student cadets who have stepped forward to serve their country and receive commissions as officers. Really, we always try to be about students here at MTSU. We're student focused, which is a buzzword in higher education, but we've lived that out for many years. And the stats really tell the story. We have produced from our student body 1,613 cadets who've received their second lieutenant bars through our MTSU ROTC. Among that number, 17 of them have achieved flag rank, becoming generals of the Army. 7 of those folks are with us here today. They'll be recognized formally later in the program, but that's an amazing achievement. So let's go ahead and give them a round of applause right now. Will you please stand, those of you who have reached general officers? There you go, guys. Yes, thank you so much for your service. We've also benefited from the assignment by the Army of outstanding officers who run our OOTC program and are professors of military science and have mentored and supported our cadets. Lieutenant Colonel Arlen Wilshire now serves as our professor, and thanks to his leadership, our program has continued to thrive and advance. Colonel Wilshire, will you stand up and be recognized? Thank you, sir. Finally, I want to acknowledge the great work done on behalf of MTSU and the nation supporting our veterans. No doubt you all are familiar with the Charlie and Hazel Daniels Veterans and Military Family Center, which provided support to today's event. The Daniels Center is the largest and most comprehensive veterans center on any higher education campus in the nation. Named for the Lake Country Music Hall of Famer and Charlie and his wife Hazel, it serves student veterans and their family members, both virtually and in person. And it's important to note, and we take great pride in this, it's not only open to our students and their families, but to any veteran who needs support, services, assistance with the various benefits that they are entitled to. It enables our more than 1,000 students, and that's an impressive statistics. Out of our 20,000 current students, more than 1,000 are either veterans or dependents of veterans. So the Daniels Center provides a one-stop shop for their needs. We'll soon celebrate the 10th anniversary of the Daniels Center, and you'll hear more about that. But today I want to recognize the director of the Daniels Center, who I'm sure is here, but I don't see her, Dr. Hillary Miller. There's Dr. Miller. Thank you, ma'am. And of course, our Senior Advisor for Veterans and Leadership Initiatives, retired Lieutenant General Keith Huber. Dr. Huber. General Huber, please stand and be recognized. You know, on the org chart, I keep calling you Doctor. General Huber reports to me, which I never thought I would have a three-star reporting to me, but it's been a real pleasure getting to know him and the amount of good he does for this university and for our veterans around the country is really tremendous. So thank you, General, for everything that you do. Thank you to the organizers of today's celebration. Really, I believe the driving force behind that is Colonel Ricky Smith. Let's give Colonel Smith a round of applause. I think I get to call him Ricky because I've known him about 55 years or so. Can that be right? We might check my math, but I think that is correct. So it's always great to see, yes, an old Murfreesboro guy like him and I to do well. So on behalf of all of our students, the faculty and staff, and more than 130,000, living alumni, please accept our appreciation and congratulations on today's milestone. So thank you all very much.
At this time, I would like to invite to the podium one of our most distinguished alumni this program has ever produced. 1979 graduate and former Adjutant General of the great state of Tennessee, Major General retired Max Haston. Major General Haston will be giving us a brief history of the Military Science Department here at MTSU. Sir?
Well, as my old friend Charlie Daniels used to say, ain't it great to be alive and be in Tennessee today? 75 years. I didn't think we all looked a day over 30. You know, to attempt to provide a complete history of 75 years of pride and tradition for the Military Science Department here at MTSU in 5 minutes would be impossible. But that's why they ask an old Cav guy to do it, okay? In 1940, Middle Tennessee State College made application for an Army ROTC program. And for reasons known only to God and University President Q.M. Smith, it was denied until 1950. So on 3 April 1950, under the guidance and leadership of Professor of Military Science Bob McLean, Middle Tennessee State College ROTC started with 93 cadets and 11 cadre. Now this is important. Pay attention to this. Middle Tennessee State College started as an armor training unit. One of 15 in the nation. Now, I'm an armor officer, so you know why I said that. The cadets had one M24 Chaffee tank and a turret trainer that was stored at the local National Guard Armory. The ROTC cadets once used this tank downtown Murfreesboro on College Street at the Princess Theater because there was a movie there called The Tanks Are Coming, and they pulled it out front as a stunt. In the summer of 1952, they traded their Chaffee, or upgraded, for 3 M2A3 Sherman tanks. But then we started downhill, I guess. In 1952, ROTC became an Army branch general, one of 50 across the nation, and it meant cadets could be commissioned in more than just armor, but in all branches. The military science curriculum implemented at that time was much like what was being taught at the military academy at West Point. In 1954, cadet equipment inventory had grown from 5 tanks, 2.5-ton trucks, 3/4-ton trucks, M1 Garands, 45 caliber pistols, M1 carbines, 30 caliber machine guns, 60 millimeter mortars, and a bazooka. The ROTC department at that time was housed right over here in the base of Old Alumni Gym, which also included an indoor firing range. And they're probably still cleaning up the lead contamination from that. In 1954, the current ROTC building was opened and dedicated as Forrest Hall in 1958. In 1955, the first 2 years of ROTC became mandatory for freshmen and sophomores, and cadets who excelled in that program was given the opportunity to enter the advanced ROTC program and later on be commissioned as a second lieutenant. In 57, the program introduced the Army Flight Program. And from 1957 to 68, almost 100 cadets completed the course and went on to become Army aviators, both fixed wing and rotary wing. And from my understanding, they actually had a runway over here on the southeast side of campus. During the mid-60s and into the early 70s, the United States was involved in a nation-changing conflict in a place called Vietnam. In 1964, a select number of cadets began studying and learning techniques to defeat counterinsurgency operations, and a special group was formed called the Forest Raiders. They trained and studied on small unit tactics and completed a series of military skills tests. Then, following a completion of the Board of Review, which if anybody, I know a few of you have been to that was kind of a challenge, was awarded the coveted Black Beret. The crest and the flash was later awarded after you led a successful patrol. And that successful patrol was probably conducted just down the road here at Cedars of Lebanon State Park. Now, training along Cedar Forest Road created its own scale of challenges, like mistakenly ambushing an unsuspecting group of coon hunters, or having to deal with, as Jim Pike called him, the crazy man, the guy that lived in a house trailer off campus with about 1,000 cats, or off the park. He was always considered a threat in paragraph 3 of our patrol orders and was specifically mentioned by name as the crazy man. And thanks to our adult supervision, which was provided by then Captain Jay Hendricks, later becoming the FORSCOM commander, where he parlayed with the locals out there and ensured them that our intentions was patriotic and honorable. None of us was shot. In 1971, the ROTC became a voluntary program. The cadet battalion had grown from original 104 cadets to 1,449, and in 70-71 school year. More than 1,575 MTSU ROTC alumni has served in all 3 components of the Army branches. We've served with distinction in Korea, Vietnam, Dominican Republic, Grenada, Panama, Somalia, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Kosovo, Bosnia, Iraq, and Afghanistan, and in some places that was only recognizable to students who had been taking Dr. Ralph Fullerton's geography class. Some of y'all remember Dr. Fullerton. Some of us have served in multiple of those locations. 14 of our classmates gave the last full measure in defense of this nation, and they're listed on this wall that's behind me today. Cadets among us participated not only in ROTC-associated professional organizations to improve their military skills, like the Sam Davis Rifle Drill Team, which later became the Pershing Rifles. Now, this is one I never heard of till I researched, the All-Star Majorettes. Now, I hadn't figured that one out yet, but they were there. The White Beret Drill Team, Track and Saber, Scabbard and Blade, and Cross Sabers. Now, if you got good enough grades, you got to be in those organizations. Some of us barely made it. And then there was other clubs like the ROTC Rifle Team, Orienteering Team, and of course the Forest Raiders. Some of our cadets were All-American athletes. We had one that participated in the Pan American Games and one went on to the Olympics. In 1978, and there's several U-78 class guys out there, was #1 ROTC program in the nation among 283 colleges. And won the coveted Warrior of the Pacific Award that we used to call the Naked Indian. In 1979, my year group, we came in second, and I guess that's because we exhausted ourselves training you guys, Ricky and David and all that. To date, 17 general officers have come from the Corps of Cadets here at MTSU. This is an excellent record for a non-traditional military school where less than 0.5% reaches the flag officer grade. Through the corridors and classrooms at Forest Hall has come some of the finest patriots that has ever served in the United States Army. I would be remiss if I didn't mention some of these excellent instructors and mentors that we all had over the years. People like Lieutenant Colonel Bob McLean, Lieutenant Colonel John Bradley, Major Crawford Smith, Major Quentin McNary, Lieutenant Colonel Don Tummons, Major James Price, Lieutenant Colonel James Kreitzberg, Colonel Raymond Smith, Lieutenant Colonel Roy Plaster, Sergeant Major Tommy Tucker, Major Harlan Heimgartner, General Jay Hendricks, Major Mike Pilvinsky, Captain Frank Ellis, Master Sergeant Nick Snyder, Sergeant First Class Terrence Reno, Lieutenant Colonel James Taylor, Lieutenant Colonel Doug Chafin, who's with us today. Doug, raise your hand. Where you at, buddy? One of our professors of military science. Brigadier General David Ogg, Colonel Mark Farrell, I don't know where Mark's here or not, Lieutenant Colonel Joel Miller, and now Lieutenant Colonel Arlen Wilshire. They have led our program and will continue to lead it into the future. And those are just a few of the people, many more, who's guided the men and women who's come through this outstanding ROTC program. The past 75 years has been a blur and is just a preview of coming attractions. There's no way to tell our story of this journey in just a few minutes, and I know I have left out a ton, and if we could all write it down, it'd be volumes. 75 years from now, most of us will be worm dirt, but I hope there's going to be a ceremony being held right here on this location, this exact spot, honoring the men and women who came through this program. Thank you for being here today. God bless you, and I'll see you on the high ground.
I just want to say thank you to General Haston as a proud Tennessee National Guardsman and 2011 graduate from this program. You were at our ball. I think it was your first year as TAG, and I'll always remember that, so it's an honor having you here today. At this time, I would like to invite the current Cadet Battalion Commander, George Johnny, to the podium to read the State of Tennessee Resolution.
All right. By Representatives Rudd, Terry, Stevens, Baum, Russell, Sparks, Camper, Fritz, Reedy, White, and Senators White and Reeves, a resolution to commemorate the 75th anniversary of the U.S. Army Reserve Officers Training Corps at Middle Tennessee State University. Whereas the U.S. Army Reserve Officer Training Corps, ROTC, is celebrating 75 years of duty at service at Middle Tennessee State University. And whereas the MTSU Army ROTC Military Science Department has commissioned more than 1,575 officers into all branches of the United States Army, significantly contributing to our nation's defense and leadership. And whereas the MTSU Army ROTC detachment has twice been recognized as the #1 Army ROTC detachment in our nation, exemplifying excellence in military training and education. And whereas the MTSU ROTC program provided the origin of the MTSU Aerospace program and the provision of flight training on campus, thus furthering the advancement of aviation education and contributing to the aerospace industry. And whereas the dedication, commitment, and achievements of the MTSU ROTC cadets, and alumni are worthy of recognition and celebration. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the House of Representatives of the 114th General Assembly of the State of Tennessee, the Senate concurring, that we commemorate the 75th anniversary of the U.S. Army Reserve Officer Training Corps at Middle Tennessee State University. Celebrate the significant contributions and achievements of the MTSU Army ROTC cadets and alumni, and applaud the program's continued efforts in training our future leaders. This was adopted on February 13th, 2025, introduced by Representative Tim Rudd, signed by Speaker of the House of Representatives, Speaker of the Senate, and Governor Bill Lee.
Now I'd like to ask Colonel Retired Ricky Smith to the podium.
So it's another great day to be an old soldier from the Blue Raider Battalion. If you are an alum of the Blue Raider Battalion, please raise your hand. Great. Good turnout. And if you don't have your coin, come see me afterwards. So Dr. Burns and Representative Rudd, who's probably still voting at the state capitol, general officers, fellow Defense Department, senior executives, MTSU ROTC alumni, cadre and cadets, and as well as all of our friends and family here, thank you for attending. On behalf of the MTSU Alumni Chapter, I want to extend our sincere thanks to the MTSU administration and staff for the exceptional support for today's 75th anniversary ceremony. Our own Army Reserve Ambassador, Andrew Oppman, brought together a team as you look around for graphics, photography, mass media, parking, and equipment. And additionally, Dr. Hillary Miller and the Daniels Veteran Center staff provided invaluable insights and support for hosting this ceremony and helping us locate where we're going to put our time capsule from this ceremony, which will be at the far distant tree that you see over there later. MTSU's support for Army ROTC never falters. As we gather today, I want to recognize the service and ultimate sacrifice of the 71 in Middle Tennessee students memorialized on the wall and 14 officers commissioned through our program killed in action. Our nation has one Army, and this year the U.S. Army celebrates 250 years of service to the nation. Now, for 75 of those 250 years, Middle Tennessee Army ROTC has contributed officers to serve our nation. The Army has three distinct, interdependent, and essential components: the regular Army, the Army National Guard, and the Army Reserve. We've commissioned successful officers in all three Army components. You heard earlier from General Haston, a proud member of the Army National Guard, and shortly we will induct two regular Army officers, Colonels Harmon and Kelm, into the MTSU ROTC Hall of Fame. And today's time capsule will include a product I'm quite proud of from a 1951 cadet with a unique Army Reserve career, Colonel Retired Charles Pigg. And so I'm going to tell your story there, Charlie. And to quote the MTSU ROTC alumnus and the 2023 MTSU Distinguished Alumni Award recipient, Lieutenant General Retired Bill Phillips, the sun never sets on Blue Raider Nation. And I'd add that the global nature of the Blue Raider Nation is due in part to our ROTC alumni serving around the globe in all branches of the Army. We even commissioned a cyber lieutenant just 2 years ago. There's one I'm still trying to confirm about the Army Veterinary Corps. So, Jay, I may need your help to see if we've got one there. But we've got them, the others covered. And as you've heard, 17 of our cadets achieved general officer rank. And in addition to those, we have 8 members of the MTSU Hall of Fame on our wall in Forest Hall. And we're going to add 2 more of those today. They were nominated by fellow alumni and voted on by the Military Science Alumni Chapter. But before I introduce our 2 newest members, I want to spring, not much of a surprise, but most of you probably don't realize, for the first time we have nominated someone to the U.S. Army ROTC National Hall of Fame. And that is Major General Retired James Miles. And he's with us here today. Now, Jim made a point of letting me know that he was commissioned in '74 after completing the MTSU flight program here, and he leveraged that to graduate at aviation school as a distinguished graduate. His warfighter flight career included Aviation Battalion Command, Deputy Commander of the 160th Special Ops and the Night Stalkers. He commanded the 17th Aviation Brigade and was the Assistant Division Commander of the 1st Cav Division. Now, as a general officer, though, they shifted him, and Jim had to work on equipment and providing the world's best there is. There you go. He served as the commanding general of the U.S. Army Aviation Missile Command and the Army Materiel Command, a 4-star command, inducted into their Hall of Fame not too long ago. So congratulations, Jim, and I'm sure the National Committee will support the nomination. Our first new MTSU ROTC Hall of Fame member is Joseph M. J. Harmon III. Jay retired as a colonel before joining the Army senior executive ranks. He served the nation for 47 years in and out of uniform. As the Deputy to Commanding General of the U.S. Army Medical Center of Excellence, Jay achieved Tier 2 SES rank. And those that don't know it, that means a 2-star civilian. Jay was a 1975 Distinguished Military Graduate from MTSU. And as a DMG, that meant he ranked in the top 10% of all cadets that year in the nation. He commanded the 62nd Medical Brigade from Fort Lewis into Mosul, Iraq during Operation Iraqi Freedom. But he was also the Chief Medical Operations Officer for the 10th Special Forces Group Airborne in Zakhau, Iraq, Operation Desert Storm. His awards include the Distinguished Service Medal and the Bronze Star. And we do not hold it against him that one of his master's degrees comes from that Orange School in Knoxville. We don't. And Jay, would you please come forward and join our Hall of Fame? There you go. And we have to do a quick cheese photo. There you go. They got that. There you are. And I'll hold this and you can do your talk. All right. Thank you.
Don't be afraid that I have notes, because if I didn't have notes, I'd be up here a lot longer. I want to add my personal welcome and thanks to the faculty, administration, to family members, distinguished guests, fellow flag officers. Thank you for being here today. I don't know how many of us that are graduates from MTSU's program were fortunate enough to serve at the senior executive level, but I think we should add that number to the general officers so that the university gets full credit for those of us who served at that level. I want to thank you for attending today. It's just an unbelievable honor and privilege to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. It's kind of ironic because this being the 75th anniversary of the program, it's also the 50th anniversary of my commissioning and my graduation from this great university. May 1975 seems like just last week. Ricky asked me to share a couple thoughts about why ROTC was important to me. And first of all, it was ROTC that funded my education. I'm the first man in my family's history to ever graduate from a university, and I was able to do that because of the scholarship that I received here through the ROTC program. ROTC also encouraged my personal growth and developed the resilience that I would need in future years to overcome many challenges and disappointments. Resilience is a key to life, and that started here in ROTC. ROTC also fostered a lifelong commitment of service, which lasted almost 48 years in uniform and as a civilian executive. And then I've got to say, I don't know if kids nowadays, do they still use the expression FTA? Because the Army, to me, was all about fun, travel, and adventure. And I met General Hendricks here when he was Captain Hendricks and was our Forest Raider advisor. I was the deputy commander of the Forest Raiders. I was also in Scabbard and Blade. General Hendricks was a tremendous mentor. Gave me a letter upon graduation that I still have to this day. Just what a great guy. General Fuller was 2 years ahead of me. He was our battalion brigade commander at the time, and we all looked up to him. And lo and behold, if I didn't have him pull me off the back of a helicopter in northern Iraq in the middle of the night and take me into General Tangney's headquarters of 10th Group and tell me, welcome to Iraq, fellow Blue Raider. And there was one person that wasn't mentioned yet this morning that I think made a tremendous contribution here, and that was Captain Jerry Hill. Jerry was a Transportation Corps guy. I tried to get everybody to branch Transportation Corps, but was a true aviator at heart, and I think had a lot to do with getting the aviation program started here. So I just want to say thank you again. It's humbling to be included in this group and to be inducted alongside Meg this morning. And I want to thank Ricky and the entire Alumni Association for this honor. Thank you very much.
Our next Hall of Fame member is Mary E. Most people call you Meg. She was Krieger when she was here. Her last name is Kelm now. She is the current director of the counterintelligence at the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency. She serves as a Tier 1 Defense Intelligence Senior Executive. That's one-star protocol, and as such, she's the highest-ranking woman commissioned through the MTSU ROTC program. A 1987 MTSU Distinguished Military Graduate. You get the trend there with the DMGs. 37 years and counting in service to the nation, both in and out of uniform. Places like the Associate Deputy Director for Counterintelligence at the U.S. Department of Energy, Director of the Security Division at Headquarters Department of the Army, G2 Intelligence, and Director of Security at the White House Military Office. Now, Meg's uniform service included combat tours, Operation Desert Storm, and Operation Iraqi Freedom in Iraq, Operation Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan, and other places she's not supposed to tell us about. Her awards include Defense Superior Service Medal. The various counterintelligence duties were both in joint, multinational, and interagency assignments. And I'd like to invite Meg to come forward to join our Hall of Fame. Come on over here. We'll get a cheese photo real quick. There you go. 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 Hold it. There you go.
Good morning. Thank you. Welcome to all of our distinguished guests. Jay came up and he said, "Don't be afraid. I have notes for a reason." I would tell you, you might should be afraid. I don't have notes. So maybe opposites there. This is just such a huge honor, and it's a little more emotional than I thought it would be, quite frankly. I'm tickled pink to have all four of my brothers and sisters here on National Siblings Day, and that just tells you a little bit about what's important to me, I guess, and how fortunate I am and how blessed I am to have been raised the way I was raised and where I am today. I've got two of my kids here who have traveled from points near and far to celebrate as well, and they're probably seeing a little bit different side of Mom than they usually see. I've got one niece and one great niece here, and also my dear husband who's here too. So Brock Harris, Colonel retired, thank you. He called me up and he said, "Hey, do you mind if I nominate you for this?" I'm like, why? I do not feel that I'm worthy of this, so it's a tremendous honor, and very humbled by this. And I would echo what Jay said as far as how ROTC shaped me. I applied for a 4-year ROTC scholarship, in some ways on a whim. It was to get through school, and Army ROTC was the branch, the service that had scholarships available in the major I wanted to major in. And I had a wonderful career in uniform, very fortunate to have served the places I've served, with the people I've served with, and I'm proud to have had that career. I'm proud to continue service to our nation as well. So I will, I think, stop there, but thank you very much, Brock. Thank you. And it is indeed a good day, a great day, to be a Blue Raider. Thank you.
Great, well done. Super. And I'm going to hang on to this. Inside the building, there are 2 separate tables for time capsule contents. One of them was from the 2005 class, and we were able to retrieve it this week, even though the ground penetrating radar couldn't see through the wet mud, but facilities came through and found it for us. And that class said that they did it to really acknowledge their fellow classmates' sacrifice in the global war on terrorism, and also to communicate with future cadets. And they chose to honor it at the 20-year mark, and I've got a couple of them here today that I know of for sure, so thanks to the class of 2005, and you'll be able to see the contents on the left side in the back of the building. They did include an old CD. I'm not sure if we've got the equipment now to do the format, but we're going to work on it. I think we got to work it. And we were all concerned that the can of Coke that was stored inside the ammo can, it did not pop. It is empty, and some of the newspaper things are a little stained, but it worked out okay, and it meant something to them to have that Coke in there. Also on display in the building is a Western Union telegram informing Robert Ogg that he was the first Middle Tennessee cadet selected as a regular Army officer. Not a set of orders, just a telegram. So we blew it up and put it in there. And Lieutenant Colonel Ogg is an original MTSU ROTC Hall of Fame member, and his son David is with us today. The contents of the 75th anniversary time capsule are also on display, except it's expanding because I asked everyone who came today if they were alum to bring things, and I've got more coming, so keep it coming. We'll fit it in. The bottom line, though, of the bottom of the time capsule, we're lining it with unit crests and commander's coins, and most of them aren't identified. We'll let historians and cadets of the future figure it out when they open it at the 100-year anniversary. The cadets who are serving today, our seniors, have written letters, maybe to themselves or to future cadets, so we'll see what that comes out at the 100-year. Now, one of the key products in that time capsule is an interview I conducted with Colonel Retired Charles Pigg. Charlie joined the Middle Tennessee State College ROTC in 1951, and he's with us here today. Raise your hand, Charlie. There you go. Now, he noted that the cadre all had combat experience in either World War I or World War II in the basement of the alumni gym with a rifle range there. And he was one of the cadets that helped us move to the new current ROTC building. So we haven't had a new one since '54 there. Many people really don't recognize the fact that the rifle range has a kind of a Quonset dome to it because that's the airplane hangar. The runway was right there and running out. So that was part of flying, and it turns out that Charlie met fellow air cadets, if you will, so he could go flying around above the campus while he was here. When he entered the Army Reserves, he did his short 2 years on active duty, and they assigned him to a South Carolina Engineer Battalion. He's living here in Middle Tennessee. And one of the reasons that's interesting is to give you an example of the Army Reserve. They get called up for the Berlin air crisis. They're going to Germany. Load up. So they go to Fort Benning to start training. Whoop, when they get down, they said, no, not so fast. Things are heating up in Laos. This is before the Vietnam War. Get ready for Southeast Asia. So they go through that intense training. So what do? Wait a minute, Cuban Missile Crisis. You're loading on the railhead at Columbus, Georgia, and you're going to Florida. And they loaded, and they stopped them. Said, no, we're deactivating you. That's 9 months in an Army Reserve unit. And that didn't dissuade him from serving. He continued to serve, joined, and became an instructor. And it turns out that he was the commandant of the 3290th U.S. Army Reserve School. And if you're not familiar with that, they teach Command and General Staff College. A lot of times they go to Fort Campbell to do it with the active duty. His roots run deeper at MTSU than most people realize, though, because on the civilian profession, for 28 years, he was MTSU's campus planning engineer. You put Murphy Center where it is, didn't you? There you go. Now, as the careers you've heard from General Haston, General Miles, Colonel Harmon, Colonel Kelm, Colonel Pigg, they illustrate there's really no standard career path for if you're commissioned here through ROTC. But there is one constant, and that's selfless service to the nation, both in and out of uniform. Today's cadre and cadets continue that selfless service because we are all soldiers for life. And thank you for joining us today.
So I'm going to go just a little off script real quick. I would be remiss to say we have to thank also the civilians that help support us at MTSU ROTC, most notably Miss Nancy, who's about to serve 50 years of service with ROTC. Miss Nancy, stand up. She's in the back there. And also Miss Debbie, she was the HRA at MTSU ROTC for 35 years. And when you go look in the time capsule, she put something in there. So you'll see what she looked like about 20 years ago. But thank you to her as well. Thank you very much. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the playing of the Army song. This concludes today's ceremony. Will the general officers in attendance please join us inside for a group photo? And please join us in the Tom Jackson building for cake cutting and light refreshments. You're more than welcome to take photographs. Thank you for your attendance.